Okay, so kind of want to talk about the rest of my life. I've been thinking about this and mulling it out and thinking, do I write something long? Do I don't know what. Do I post a whole bunch of things? Do I spin up my blog again? Or I just blurt it out? Because I probably want to bring this up in like a dozen conversations with a dozen people I know, people I go to for advice, people who I just like to shoot the shit with. And I thought, why not just belt this out right now? So here it is. The rest of my life. I'm coming up on 53. My health is lousy, there you go. Space is expanding and so am I. Trying to fix that, but so far the success of my fixing it is I've been in a long game of holding action, of just not letting it get much worse. But it's still bad, and not much worse than bad is still bad. So that's where I'm at. I don't like that, and I'm trying to fix it. I'm trying to look for the silver bullets of how much effort do I slam into it to get it to go somewhere. I started on the treadmill of web design back in 1996, at the end of 96. So by the end of this year, I will have rung in 25 years, like a quarter century of doing web design. And in the last month or so, I felt myself consciously getting, last 4 months, as the business has gotten busier, of getting consciously more obsessed with it, like delving in and consuming more about it and getting even more specialized in getting stronger and stronger, as well as understanding what I don't know and understanding what I need to just beg off from and give to someone else. Ultimately, it's my career. If I put in a quarter century onto it, it's my career. But at by the quarter century mark, I'll be 53, and that says to me, maybe I want to think about what happens when I, if I can quit. And if I can quit, it's nice to say that I could put 7 more years into this game and evolve from where I'm at to a very different finale of not being a developer, but more of a manager or somebody who oversees or somebody who offers oversight or that sort of expertise or that sort of 10,000 foot view. So between now and the 7-year mark, that's kind of where I'd graduate towards. But where I'd want to go after that is I kind of want to get away from tech, very much so. Ironically, in 7 years from now, technology will be so more integrated into our lives that I think by then we're going to be basically cyborgs. Like right now as it is, we consume so much via technology. It's so intrinsic to what we do. It's wormed its way into so many things, and I can't see that trend suddenly turning around in the next 5 or 10 years. So it's getting more so, and I'm talking about going the other way. But maybe we can get it to the ideal spot where it disappears into the background as sort of this invisible helper, as it offers like lane assist and the little things that kind of create a quality of your life without kind of turning you into sort of a screen addicted zombie. So where I get to eventually is post-tech. That's what I want to do. And where I want to get with that is I want to trim up my skills and eventually stop trying to up my game on tech and try to up my game on doing stuff about climate. And one thing that's really been pissing me off is what recycling really is, because the reduce, reuse, recycle, it's this idea that if you can externalize your recycling, you don't have to worry about the issues of it. And with that happening, it means that people can just throw stuff in a blue bin and call it good. And I don't like that, because what really happens is it gets cubed up, shipped to Asia, and then dumped somewhere in a jurisdiction that will allow it to happen. China, and then they said no, and Philippines, but they're saying no, and other countries where if you can dump it there, they'll take it. And eventually some other underdeveloped or developing part of the world is going to pick up our trash. And we think it's like that whole thing of, oh no, we're not getting your puppy euthanized. We're taking it to a good place in the country. Same thing with our recycling. We're not recycling it. We're taking it to we're not. We think we're recycling it, but we're actually taking it to a nice place in somebody else's country and wrecking it. So we're not actually dealing with our recycling. So a little stretch goal of mine that's kind of stitches into the background of what I want to do is something about doing something massive for my role in the environment about maybe finding a way to onshore and deal with recycling and repurpose it so it becomes something useful. That's sort of where the post tech would be. But it also may need heavy tech, but it probably doesn't need heavy web development. So it allows me to move away from web development at that point in the next 7 years. So, I mean, clients who hear this and may freak out that I'm going away, well, I'm talking about going away in the next 2,100 days. I'm hoping that 2,100 days is enough ramp up for us to prepare to part ways. Anyways, I want to do that. Also would like to get into doing something concrete with my hands, building or something else. So right now we're at this waypoint of we've been sort of effectively evicted from our current place as the landlord intends eventually their mid-game is to sell. And as renters, we're kind of the frustrating part of that, so they've kind of resolved that and we're out. So we have to find housing, but we're finding housing in a city that's really expensive and kind of annoying. So that means that we kind of don't have anywhere to go because the current math is about $1,000 a month per bedroom. So it means our 3-bedroom place we need for the 4 of us is probably going to be like a $3,000 a month expense. When, rewind 6 years ago, I was paying $1,500 a month in mortgage. So it's frustrating that much money is going to disappear into housing because it extrapolates up into us needing to basically, if it's $3,000 a month rent and housing bears 25% of your overall expenses, the reality is our household should be kicking in, it should be earning no less than $12,000 a month for the math to work. And that turns into at least $37 an hour for staff for us to work, or for me as the main breadwinner to gross $75 an hour every hour. And while that's me and I'm a techie and I can sort of punch at that level, you have to say this applies to everyone in the region, that baristas have to make $35 an hour and have a roommate. And the person washing the dishes has to have $35 or more. So it just gets to the point of ridiculous of saying, so you're fighting a $15 an hour wage, but you're okay with you're fighting a $15 an hour wage, but you're forgetting these people actually, to make the math work, need to earn over double that. So the housing thing right now is a frustrating crossroads I'm at because of the math and the lack of logic in said math. So it's really made me stop and assess where I'm at and what I'm doing and where the big goal is, because I have to draw a through line through the next couple months of annoying and get to where I want to go. And that's going to be troubling because, it's going to be hard. We're going to suddenly see $3,000 a month disappear, where before our rent was more like $1,700. And if we left Victoria and went to a place where it was cheaper, we'd probably be down to like $2,000 or $1,500 a month rent, but we'd have to give up being around our friends and family. So that part sucks. And, but maybe make sacrifices in a conscious short-term loss for a long-term win. And what I'm trying to do is game out next steps. And some of the next steps I have are doing something entrepreneurial or verging on ballsy. One idea is maybe we basically pack up this house and all, everything into boxes and keep everything basically in boxes. We're going to a conscious exodus. And we stay fluid. And part of that fluidity is maybe we go and we say to people, how about we nurture, reno, and care for your home? We act like renters, but we are renters who will be able to leave at a moment's notice. The idea there being that if we're leaving at a moment's notice, then they don't have angst over can they get into the market quickly with renters. And we somehow write an agreement that puts that in the mix. Meantime, am I able to be there to kind of make sure the property moves forward, whether it does renos, if we can somehow, vacate the room here and there to make the renos happen, and while during our tenure, we're making it better so that by the time they're ready to put it to market, we're ready to exit and the place has gotten net better because of our role in it. And it would get me some time and we can make some sort of deal where there's a financial incentive to be in that mix for us, and something about ultimately getting back into being familiar with both doing something physical and doing something that's kind of this different entrepreneurial model. Meanwhile, I have 2 rolling businesses. I got to keep going, and they got to keep I got to keep attention on them. So how to keep all the balls in there is a question, and it's a dilemma. But anyways, that's the thought, and it's this rambling. It's going to turn out to be a 15-minute video of me just talking. But where my head is going is do something kind of a little bit unfamiliar, do something a little bit unorthodox for the next steps, because right now it's just stupid what the current lay of the land is. So do something to change that formula and change the math. So the premise I have, if I were to say the rest of my life, and practically by some accounts I'm past the end of life. Like my maternal grandfather, I'm 52, my maternal grandfather died at 45. My mom died of cancer at 70. My dad has health issues and he's 72 and still going. And his parents went deep into their 80s. So, maybe I've got 30 years. Maybe my expiration date's already passed. I just don't. I actually don't know. And you don't know until it's too late. So, so the rest of my life plan would be we get out of this place because we got to go. So it's just that's a given. The next place we get into is probably the first thing we find. But the thing I'd like to find is a place where somebody's willing to take this entrepreneurial gamble. We stay there. We basically stay there in boxes and basically keep our feet in nimble. So we're not staying there long term. And we're staying there with the idea we're going to help somebody get their place to market. In the meantime, we have shelter and we get to do something that's an accolade of here's what we've successfully done. And maybe there's some measure of profit sharing, or somehow the finances of our interaction work out. That's something very much in wet cement about what that looks like. And then if that works, we repeat that as kind of a background piece of what I'm doing for the next few years. And then by the time I hit 60, all being well, hopefully the part of my life where I'm starting to pound nails with my free time helps my outlook and helps my health. And then also, if the financial part of the math helps my finances and my wealth building, that would be great. As well as do some good and be able to work inside the market dynamics of what's here. So I'm just mulling it out and thinking about how I can make this work, and whether or not anyone would go for it if I said, because here's the thing of saying, hey, let me move into your house. It needs a lot of TLC and you need a renter, but it's vacant. We'll come in. I'll renovate it, either some of my labor and some of your supply money and some of your money for trades that are just outside of my skill set. We get it ready, we get it to go to market. Our rental agreement supersedes the residential tenancy branch agreements or regulations that say that when we come to the time it goes on market, you are the seller, owner, would be within their rights to let us go at very quick notice, like within 1 month. Basically, the amount of time it takes from what you traditionally have from a sale to an occupancy. And that rather than play it out of what a renter would go through, we instead accept the dynamic of a quick exit. And because everything's in boxes, it's just the 6 hours of labor of taking the boxes and putting them in a moving van for the next opportunity. And that means that the owner would have a lot more. They'd have an improved place. They'd have some fluidity, and they wouldn't have their stuff locked up in a renting dynamic. And we would live there and have our shelter. So that's the part of the math that works for us. And that's just what I'm pitching out there. Meanwhile, we keep the business rolling. We keep to expand what our client list is looking like. Keep throwing effort into that. And that my hobby becomes fixing the places I live in. So anyways, that's the gist of my weird rambling thought. And I just don't know if it has merit. And I don't know if anyone's tried this. And I don't know if it's a sensible idea or if it's just me being, kind of out to lunch. Anyways, I'm going to post this on YouTube. Comment below. Love to hear what people think. And who knows? Maybe I'm onto something. I don't know. Anyways, thanks for the time. Look, it wasn't even 15 minutes. Have a great day.